A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I ask that you please do subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership encounter between Cape Town City versus Orlando Pirates. So this is a post-match analysis of how that 1-1 game played out. Coming into this encounter then, Cape Town City were coming off the back of a Dstv Premiership draw against Swallows the last time out when they played to a 0-0 draw at Dobsonville. And coming into this game then, because it was a home game, they would have loved to get the 3 points and also building on the consistency and the momentum that they've come into, especially considering how they performed against Swallows in the MTN 8 during last week. So this was a must-win encounter for them. And then on Orlando Pirates side, they're a team that they were progressing and they were doing well up until they played against Mamelodi Sundowns, where they really struggled and they lost 2-0. So coming into this encounter, they would have wanted to bounce back and go all out for the 3 points. However, the game ended 1-1. So with regards then to the game and the entire scope of the game and how it played out, Cape Town City were the much more dominant team, and they played really well, especially when they'd build the ball up from the back, work it into consolidation phase. It's just that in the first half, they struggled to have that final third penetration. And they played with a 3-4-3 system, which was a hybrid of a 3-5-2. So sometimes you would have Mdantsane dropping into the midfield, and then he would then leave Ralani and Lake up front. So I just think sometimes when you go with that system and you're playing with the false 9, sometimes you don't have a focal point in the final third. So that final third penetration often then becomes a bit difficult. But going into how Pirates were looking to go about things. Pirates, for me, started a bit on the back foot. However, the early goal they got through a beautiful cross by Pule from the left-hand side in vertical zone 1, and Jele finishing was a goal which was very important for them because that stamped their authority on the game, you know. So one thing, though, that I will commend both sides for is that they were playing very good football at a high intensity. So both teams within the first half were passing the ball really well. And I just think that when it comes to Cape Town City, they were struggling to penetrate in the final third. However, when Fasika went off injured and they brought Ajagun into the game and they went to a 4-3-3, I think that's when they started to find a lot more joy and a lot more penetration. Hence why going into the second half, they were able then to create those chances and find joy, because what happened then is they managed to get a penalty in the 54th minute, and Mdantsane finished very, very well with the one-step penalty. And throughout second half, Cape Town City were the more dominant team, and they were playing really well. The triangulation, the passing patterns from Cape Town City are a marvel to watch, and Pirates just couldn't grow back into the game. So much so that Pule, their talisman, was doing a lot more defensive work than he was doing offensive work, you know. And in the second half, there was only 2 chances Pirates got. The first being Jukamanja laying the ball off for Makaringe, and then Makaringe curled the ball wide, so he couldn't hit the target. And then when you have a look at the second chance, which was instituted and built up down the left-hand side by Pule, where he played a beautiful cross into the box. Yeah, there was Hotto, but Hotto couldn't even connect with the ball to try get the ball on target. And I just think that goes to subbing Mabasa off. So I just think that in certain games, you don't take your number 9 off, especially when he's been a point of reference, and especially in that game, because Mabasa's hold-up play was very good, and also how he engaged the 2 centre-halves and how he kept battling with Mubara and Feilies. I just think that that kind of ball needed a Mabasa, and if Mabasa was in the box, I think he could have scored that goal, which could have given Pirates the edge. However, the ball was flashed across the box and they couldn't finish. With Cape Town City, in the dying minutes, they created a couple of clear-cut chances, but the most crucial chance that they created, which stuck out like a sore thumb for me, was the beautiful corner kick by Umayo, which went into Feilies at the back post unmarked. He should have hit the target, and that should have been Cape Town City 2-1. However, it ended 1-1. Let's go then into the tactical preview and the personnel that they went with. So Cape Town City then did start with a 3-4-3, which was a hybrid of a 3-5-2. Whenever Mdantsane would look to drop into midfield, and especially when they were on the ball at times, he is a type of player that would look to get into those two half spaces and also central zone 3 deep in the midfield, just to institute that build-up play, which is fluid. So in goals, then they went with Marquez started in goals. They started with a back three of Mubarak, the right-sided centre-half. Fasika started as the centre-back in between the three. Feilies started on the left side of defence as the left-sided centre-back. And then when you have a look at the midfield, they started with Umukeke and Nodata as the right wing-back. Mkize, left wing-back, they went with Mashego. The three up front, they went with Lekay, Ralani, and Mdantsane. However, Mdantsane would often drop into midfield to help out and to give that numerical balance in the heart of midfield and make it a three-man midfield, especially considering how Pirates were looking to go about things. That's Cape Town City, and they did make the early change where Fasika went off, which saw then a formational change, and that's when Ajogan came on. So then it then went to a back four, and then they went to a 4-3-3, which is something I think they better suited at, because that's when we started to see more penetration from this Cape Town City side, and they were a lot quicker with regards to progressing the ball from consolidation phase into the final third, which was very important. So this Cape Town City side is a well-coached side, and they play really beautiful football, you know. And when we have a look at Orlando Pirates went with a hybrid of a 4-3-3, which would sometimes transition to a 4-2-3-1. So with Pirates then, in goals, they started with Mponchane, Bandi Leshando at right back. As the right-sided centre-half, Olisanda made his debut. Jele started as the left-sided centre-half, and Pasega Marco as the left back. In the heart of midfield, they went with Mabaso and Musele. And then as the number 8/10, who was the playmaker in the heart of midfield, they started with Makubela. And then front three, Mabasa as the target man, Juka Manja of the right-hand side, Pule of the left-hand side. So something to mention with Pirates, whenever they did institute build-up play and they'd work the ball into consolidation phase, a lot of times they went with a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. So Paseka Marco would often tuck in, become the third centre-back, and Tuka Manja would come in, and then Bandi Leshandu would go. So a lot of the time when they instituted build-up play, this is what it looked like. Pule then would go wide left, and then depending on the phase of play and the pockets of spaces which were available, Makubela would then join the front three, or he would then take up a position in midfield. So it would become a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 at different periods of the game. So Pirates did very well in the first half, in my opinion. I just think second half they dropped off and they just didn't have that intensity which was needed. If anything, I think Pirates were actually lucky to walk away with the 1 point, you know, and I say that because when you look at this Cape Town City side and the amount of chances they created in the second half and the control that they had in the second half, that was enough, had they been clinical, to see them win this game. So that's how it ended, ladies and gentlemen, 1-1. A point apiece, and from this game I think Eric Tinkler will be the most disappointed coach, considering that so many chances were created. He had control of the game, and his team was the better team on the day. They instituted beautiful style of play, and yeah, so I take, you know, literally, I take my hat off to this Cape Town City side. I'm very impressed with what I've seen, and going forward, I think they're going to be a very, very dangerous side, and also a very entertaining side to watch, you know, from how intricately intertwined their style of play is. So from build-up phase into consolidation phase and then into the final third, it's just finding that penetration at times. With Orlando Pirates, I think at different phases of the game, they play well, but at times their intensity drops off. So it's about game management, and it's about the personnel as well, you know, because I just think that they can't keep going with Umusele and Mabaso, you know, in the heart of midfield. It's a bit too defensive in my opinion, you know. Rather start with Nkanyiso Zungu and Umusele, or you go with the Makaringe and the Musele, somebody who's a bit more forward thinking within that double pivot. So go with one pivot, 2 8s, or a double pivot, an 8 and a 10. I think that's going to be a lot better for this Orlando Pirates side, and also ensuring then that when you manage the game from the coach's perspective, keeping on certain players. So not being quick to take Mabasa off. Let Mabasa play throughout the 90, or let Mabasa win the game for you, then you pull him off. But anyway, lovely game to watch, actually very entertaining, and yeah, Vincent Pule was my man of the match because the amount of work he put in down that left-hand side, you know, in vertical zone 1 was absolutely phenomenal, you know, both from a defensive and an offensive perspective. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. I appreciate each and every single one of you that take your time to watch these episodes, that comment, that share the link, that give constructive criticism, that always give advice, and yeah, thank you very much to each and every single one of you. I appreciate you thoroughly. So, thank you.